Thanks
Thanks for listening
to the
Boots
Boots
Frost
podcast.
Hey, thanks so much for checking out this episode of the Boots Off podcast, now with video. That is if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, but maybe you would like to see the faces of all these guests I have conversations with, then I'll put a link in the show notes. You follow that link, you click on subscribe, and then you'll see all of our faces from this episode going forward. I am Mike Lahrman. This is the first episode of the Boots Off podcast. After the 2-year hiatus, I had to make my own transition, and I left my first post-active duty job, packed up and moved from one state to another, and I just couldn't fit the podcast into that chapter of my life. So we're back, we're getting better, and if you haven't yet rated the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to or watching on, then please give it a thumbs up, 5 stars, what have you. And that way we can reach more eyes and more ears and, get this out to the veterans who may need to hear these conversations that I produce. I had no idea when I first came up with the idea for this podcast that I would have the opportunity to talk to someone who's taken a path in life quite like Chris Allen has. Chris is a stand-up comic, and he's opened for many comics that stand-up comedians that you are familiar with, I'm sure, from Amy Schumer, Mark Normand, Colin Quinn, Hannibal Buress, and many more. I'll let him get into a little bit more of that. But what does he have to do with transitioning veterans? I'll tell you what. A couple years ago, he retired from the Air Force. And so I thought Chris could provide a very interesting perspective because you don't hear a lot of stories like his. And I appreciate him taking time out of his day and his family life on the weekend to have this conversation with me. So please enjoy this conversation with Chris Allen. He's a regular in the DC clubs. You can find him on Twitter and Instagram under the name Chris Allen Comedy, and find everything else he's doing from there.
The shirt, man. Thanks for getting the shirt.
I love this shirt.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I actually had a few people get upset with me about that shirt. I had a black lady in Texas was like, that's too close to the Gadsden flag. I can't support it. And I was like, you literally came back to me after the show. You already walked by me. She left and then came back and told me that. I was just like, that's fine. Just don't buy one. I don't need to hear you don't like it. Just don't get it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone always feels the need to comment on how they feel about something.
Yeah, they really feel like real life is like a wall. You're like a Facebook wall. So it's like, yeah, you don't have to comment in person. It's, you know what I'm saying? Just keep scrolling. Keep on walking, buddy. And it's not to say I don't like to hear other people's opinions, but it's just like I'm trying to sell right now, and you're going to come back to me and interrupt me to tell me you don't want to buy one while people are buying a shirt.
Just first of all, thank you for coming on, because I think you can provide a unique perspective that like my listeners aren't typically thinking about.
Okay.
So that's why I wanted to invite you on from the moment we first initially last year started just a little bit talking over Instagram. I followed you after hearing Mark Normand drop your name on Joe Rogan's podcast, and so I gave you a follow almost immediately.
Oh, okay.
And you sent me a message saying, hey, I'm a vet too. And we started talking from there.
Yeah.
And so I've noticed that you and we have a lot of these similar passions. Like you seem to have a lot of pride in your military service.
Right.
Your family,
right,
of course, is a big one. I think you've been married, you said 17 years on your podcast, I think.
15.
15?
Yeah.
15 years you've been married. You got a son that's about the same age as my oldest twins, and
oh wow,
they also
you came out with twins, huh? How was that?
That first year, I mean, your family size doubles. So
I know it's tough, huh?
And not crazy. Only that, but we moved to Japan. We PCS'd when they were 3 months old.
Oh,
so
that's Jesus!
Complete shock to every part of life,
Wow.
And now there's 4 of them. So
yeah, that's crazy, man. I remember guys like that. They have a brand new baby and they got to pick up and move to somewhere they don't even know anyone. I never, like being a young airman, you don't really think about that. You see like, oh, there's a staff sergeant, got a new baby. Now they're headed off to, Oklahoma or wherever it is. You just like, oh, so-and-so is leaving. But you don't think about this guy is leaving us and his wife are leaving a support system to go to another state that they probably never lived in. They don't know anybody. Yeah, that sucks, man.
Yeah, and not everybody, can integrate well with that new community.
Right.
Because especially like new military spouses, they might not be familiar with networking or anything like that. They may have been stuck in their hometown, their whole life.
Right.
So
exactly.
Take them to another place, especially like Japan, where you can't even read the signs on the road.
Yeah, I know that's I try to tell my wife about that because I've been through Japan, I've been in Korea, and I was like, it's just something about being surrounded by a bunch of words and letters that you don't know what it means at all. It's so overwhelming. It's a very odd feeling to it's especially with the characters in the Asian countries, is that you're completely lost. Like if you're somewhere else, it's a romance language, you can kind of figure it out.
Yes.
But when you go to you deep in Asia somewhere, you go, I don't know what the hell is going on. It can be very scary, man.
It was definitely a big change in our lives, but we've made it. We've certainly made it work.
Exactly. You got through it.
100%. And so, like I was saying, I think you can offer a different perspective. How does one go into the Air Force, serve a full 20 years, and end up on stage opening in comedy clubs for people like Mark Norman, Hannibal Buress, Roy Wood Jr.? So, I mean,
it's weird, man.
What led you into the Air Force to begin with?
Well, I'm from Rochester, New York. And, I was just in high school. I was on the fence about college. I really didn't want to go. I got accepted at University of Buffalo. My mom paid the down payment and everything. I had a dorm room. And I used to work at Wegmans. You ever heard of Wegmans, the grocery store?
Yeah, I'm familiar.
I went on a lunch break, and I'm walking through the produce section, and I see one of the managers there, and it said, Steve, serving you for 28 years. And I was just like, I don't want to work at Wegmans for 28 years. It's like, I don't want to do that. But when you're 18, you kind of, you don't realize it's not a bad career at all, but when you're 18, you kind of look down on things like that. It's like, it's a grocery store. But I was like, I don't want to do that. I was like, I really don't want to go to college. So literally the next morning I got up, and I had never thought about it at any point in time throughout my high school career. I went downtown and I just signed up for the Air Force. I just signed up. I was like, I don't want to work for Wegmans for 30 years. I was like, I can't do it. And I don't feel like going to school. So I just joined the Air Force, man. My uncle was in. Actually, I had a couple of uncles that were in. And my uncle was in the Marines. And he, I was like, I don't think he would want me to join the Marines. He had passed away. So I didn't get to consult him. But I had a cousin who I looked up to who was about 4 years older than I. He had just joined. He seemed to be doing well. A good buddy of mine, his brother joined as well. And he seemed to be doing well. And I was like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. And that's what I did, man. I didn't even think about it. I came home and told my mom. She cried. My dad was just like, hey, let him go. He's like, good. He doesn't want to sit around here. And that's basically how I joined, man. There was no like preparing and none of that kind of stuff. I went in completely blind. I had no idea what to expect at all in the least bit.
So you didn't know anything? Like you didn't know where you were going to be?
Nope.
Did you know at that time like that you'd be going to San Antonio for a few weeks?
I did no research. All I knew was Daryl's brother was in, my Uncle Lo was in the Air Force, my Uncle Macon was in the Air Force, my cousin Brandy was in the Air Force, and I was just like, man, it doesn't seem bad. And I had heard like horror stories about like the Army and the Marines, because at the time I was like, I don't want to be in the Marines, man. I was like, I don't want to.
And then you went to Luke, right? Was that your first assignment?
Yep, I went to Luke Air Force Base. My first job was I was a 2EO, which is I don't know what it is now, but I was a ground radar maintenance systems apprentice. You know how they give them the long. I was just a radar guy. So I was in tech school for about 11 months. And that's once I signed up, my cousin who was actually in, my cousin Chan, he actually retired a couple of years ago as well. He heard that I was going to join up because I wanted to be a cop, dude. Believe it or not, I wanted to be a police officer. So I was like, I'm going to join the Air Force. I'll be a cop for 4 years. I'll come out. I'll come back home and I'll be a cop in Rochester. And he called me. He was like, dude, do not be a cop. He's like, don't do that. He's like, you're going to end up in Japan at some base. And he's like, dude, you're going to be out in the middle of nowhere guarding a plane for like 12 hours by yourself. He was like, don't pick a cop. He's like, don't do it. And I was just like, all right. He was like, whatever you do, pick the longest tech school that you qualify for. So I take the ASVAB. And I didn't even know what the ASVAB was until I took it the first time. Like they didn't, when they came to my high school, I went to a private Catholic school. So they really, most of the guys that I went to school with would go to college. So I don't think they were expecting to really get too many recruits from the high school that I went to. And I kind of blew them off. So I didn't know what to expect. They gave me a practice test, which was 25 questions. So I thought when I was going to go in and take the official test, that's what it was going to be. So I get to MEPS and I'm taking this test and it's so long. So I just start A, B, B. That's how dumb I was. I had no idea that this actually had a bearing on what job I would get. Because my recruiter, he was cool. I was like, I want to come in no matter what. So he kept his mouth shut. He didn't say anything. He knew all he could do was mess it up. So he didn't give me a whole lot of information. He just told me what to expect at basic training. But he really didn't give me a lot of information, man. So I took this test, I qualified for radar. This tech school was like 36 or 40 weeks or something like that. And I was like, I'm going to take that. So that's what I did. I took this long radar course. It was a bunch of electronic stuff and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, man.
I always wonder when I hear somebody going into like a maintenance field. Before that, did you have any experience, knowledge on anything like crafty, handy, anything like that?
My father is very handy. He's, my father can look at something and replicate it. I can build that, and just no measuring anything, nothing like that, with no formal training at all. He's just that kind of guy. But me, no, man. I can figure things out, but I'm not very handy. But whenever I do that kind of stuff, I would say I do pretty well. So I have an aptitude for it, but it's not something that I really ever like kind of gravitated towards. But to be honest, man, I'm very glad that I spent 6 years in the maintenance career field and in the maintenance world, because those were the kind of guys I like being around. It's a lot of ball busting. We were left to our own devices a lot of times, But yeah, and I'm still friends with a lot of the dudes I was in that radar shop with, man. Like, we're good friends. One guy, we were in tech school together, and we ended up going to Luke together. And he just retired. And Joe and I, we talk almost every day, man. He's like my brother.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
and that's it's so good to hear. So you say you didn't plan on doing a full 20 in the beginning? No, I did not. I remember standing in my driveway. I was like, all right, you're going to do 4 years. I was like, you're going to do 4 years. You'll be 22. You can get out. You'll be a cop. You can finish. You'll have the GI Bill. You can be a cop. That was my plan. 22, I'll get out, go to school, be a cop. So what influenced that decision to stay in after? Did you first enlist under 6 years?
I did 4. I did the 4 year.
That's right. Okay.
I did 4 years. At the time, I was if you've seen it. I get to my first duty station. I meet a girl, and I was like, man, me and this girl, we might get married. So I was like, I'll just re-enlist. That way, I'll have something secure, and then we can plan based on that. That fell. Her and I never got married, thank God. I make staff after like 5 years, 6 years. It took me a little bit longer than everybody else at the time because people were making it back in like the early 2000s, like 3 years in, 4 years in. But I was kind of a screw off, so I didn't make staff the first time like a lot of my buddies did. And I'm at Luke Air Force Base. I'm just a new kid in the Air Force, man. It was a culture shock for me because I grew up, to be honest, pretty with a pretty, I wouldn't say sheltered, but I had a very traditional life. My parents were married. All my aunts and uncles were married. I had cousins that, they came from stable homes. I feel like my life has kind of been like the exception and not the rule, man. My parents still have the same phone number at the house. So do all my aunts and uncles. They still live in the same houses. So I was just used to consistency, everything being in the place where it needed to be. I grew up Pentecostal, so I wasn't used to people swearing. I wasn't around people drinking. So that was a culture shock to me when I get to my first base and you got this tech sergeant like, what the fuck are you doing? You fucking that was hard for me. Like I had to like pull them aside like, hey man, I'm not used to adults yelling at me. They're like, shut the fuck up. It was wild, man.
And that's in the 90s.
Yeah, dude, it was pretty crazy, man. I didn't realize how sheltered I was until I got out in the world. I was like, man, I don't really know much of anything. I'm a completely different person now, man. It really changed me.
Yeah, and things have changed so much since then as well.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of the opposite. You've got these guys that have been in for going on 20 years, and they've got that old school attitude, and the system is coming down saying, look, we can't talk that way to these.
Right. It's changed a lot.
Anymore. Which I know for a professional environment, I'm totally supportive of that. There's a time and a place.
Exactly. And to be honest,
personalities.
There's so many different air forces within the Air Force because the maintenance, the whole maintenance world, whether it's in CE or on the flight line or radar guys, that's different. I was also in Space Command. That's different. Like when I was in maintenance, I didn't even know Space Command existed. All I knew was like fighter jets, maintenance stuff. That's all I knew. I was so great. I didn't know the Air Force was into satellites and, ICBM. I had no idea what the Air Force did on a big scale. You know what I'm saying? On a strategic level. No clue at all. Like I thought it was cool because I had a secret clearance, but we didn't use it. We just had a piece of crypto in our radar van that we would just pull in and out, but we never messed with any of the, the codes and all that kind of stuff. But then I make staff, go to Korea. Before I go to Korea, I get married, come back to the States, and I'm on the retrain list. And I'm in Colorado Springs. I'm doing a very weird job that was extremely boring. We were only there as like top cover for civilians. It was like the 17th Test Squadron, and we basically tested these like big pave pars radars. But I didn't do anything. All I did was just accompany all the civilians because they couldn't be in charge of the program. So here I am as a staff sergeant. I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just following these civilians around, these majors around, just because I'm just supposed to be there. It was probably two of the most boring years of my life. Luckily, I was on the retrain list. I signed up for that. I picked some jobs. I get intel, and then I go through all the classes and stuff, and I find out I'm going to Vegas. And throughout this whole process, in my mind, I'm at a weird time in my life. I'm like, I want to say I'm in my late 20s, and I'm like, man, is anybody from my high school doing anything cool? Is anybody in movies? Anybody trying to act? Is anybody like just doing something outside the box? And I was like, I want to do something different. And I was like, what can I do? And people have always told me I was funny. I should try comedy. But I was like, I can't write jokes. I can just be funny off the cuff. I can't write jokes. So I get these orders to Vegas, and I was like, you know what? I think I should try comedy. I was like, I've been fighting my natural talent, for years. So let me give it a shot. So I get to Vegas, and I gave myself 6 months. I got there in December of, I want to say 07. And I was like, I'm going to give myself 6 months. And dude, like within 3 weeks, I was going to my first mic. This place called Pounders, which is like, it's so funny. You find out so quickly how hack you are. Because I was like, oh, Pounders. The first time I was like, oh, Pounders, is this a gay bar? And people are like, why'd you come? If you thought it was a gay bar, and then you would see new comics come, oh, Pounders, this is a gay bar? I'm like, oh, damn, I guess I wasn't as original as I thought I was. But so I started there. The first year and a half was tough because I wasn't a very confident person, and I would say for the first year, I would talk myself out of going up, I would say about 50% of the time. So I would write jokes at work. I would get a set list and everything. And then I would get to the mic and then I would go, this joke sucks. This joke sucks. I don't want to do that. That's dumb. And I would just go up and I would erase my name, but I would hang out. Mm-hmm. So eventually I just started going up every time. I was lucky enough to meet some really cool guys there. And I met, I don't know if you know Vince Morris, but I saw Vince Morris on Def Jam years ago and he blew my mind. And I always wanted to be like him. And it just so happened a friend of mine knew him and I got to hang out with him. So the guy that I looked up to comedy-wise was the first professional comic that I ever met, right? And he was from Dayton, Ohio. And I ended up getting orders out of Las Vegas like a year later to Dayton, Ohio. And I ended up living in the same town as my comedy mentor, the guy I look up to. So then he introduces me to all the club stuff, the club managers and stuff in Dayton. So I start doing clubs after a while. And I was there for 5 years. So I got some club experience under my belt. And then, I started opening for, just like Brett Ernst. And I work with Steve Trevino. I got to work with just so many people, man. I got to meet Chappelle while I was there because he lives in the Dayton area. Mm-hmm. I got to meet. That's where I met Joe List. I met Joe years ago. I was super new. Yeah, dude, he was
way back.
It was way back, dude. He was featuring for Tommy Johnigan at the time.
Okay.
So this was a long time ago. So I got to meet Tommy Johnigan, Joe List. I met Burt Kreischer before he really blew up. I mean, just a bunch of dudes, and I get orders to Charlottesville, and I want to say I'm about 6 or 7 years into comedy at the time, and I'm like, my comedy career is over. I was like, I know I want to do comedy when I retire, but I was like, there's nothing in Charlottesville. The closest city is Richmond, and it's like an hour away, and I wasn't used to that. I was spoiled in Dayton because all the shows and mics were about 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes away, and if you really want to venture out, Cincinnati was 50 minutes away, and there was a whole scene there. They had clubs down there as well. But I look back, I'm kind of pissed that I didn't do that more often. Let's go there, but go down to Cincinnati. But, I mean, I get to Charlottesville, and there's no comedy here, really. None. And some years prior, I did a festival. I meet some people, networking and stuff, and then a friend of mine, his name is Matt Ward. He used to run, God damn it, I'm sorry, Cape Fear Comedy Festival. And he goes, hey, man, my friend Kenny Wingle is in he lives in the Charlottesville area. He's looking for somebody to open for Kyle Kinane because he can't do it. And I was just like, Kyle Kinane? I was like, hell yeah, I'll do that. So I go to this place called The Southern. They're being complete assholes to me because they don't know who I am. They only want me to do like 5 minutes. And eventually they let me do 15. I have an awesome set, killer set. Kyle Kinane likes it. And the manager at the Southern's like, this is great. You were really good. You live here. Do you want a weekly show here? And I was like, yeah. So it took a while, but I eventually get my mic. I start building a little bit of a reputation for myself in town. And then boom, Mark Norman. They're like, hey, this guy Mark Norman's going to come in town. And I'm like, I looked him up. I was like, oh, he's cool. And I ended up working with him here in town. Again, I had a killer set, and we just hit it off, dude. We just hit it off, and Mark opened up a bunch of different opportunities for me. I started going to D.C. more often. That's how I got into the D.C. scene, doing the Kennedy Center, the Improv. And once I built my reputation up here, whenever bigger comics would come here, the guys who ran the Southern would recommend me to open for people like Hannibal Buress. So, dude, it's just been weird, man. And like, I hook up with Norman, him and I, we do a couple road gigs together. And this is what really helped me right here is I lied to Mark one time. I went to Schumer's schedule because I knew he was opening for her. And I go, oh, shit, they're going to be in Rochester? I was just like, I'm going. So I text Mark. I go, hey, man, I'm going to be in Rochester for Mother's Day, man. I see you're going to be with Schumer, man. We should hang out. He's just like, better yet, I'll get you backstage. And at this time, dude, I really didn't know Norman that well. I met him that February, and I think the show was Mother's Day. So what's Mother's Day? April,
Sometime
May?
mid-May.
Mid-May. So, dude, I've only known Mark for a few months, and if you're a fan of Norman, you know how closed off he is. He's very hard to get to know at first, and I was shocked. So, long story short, I drive home. I go to the show, and at the last minute, she goes, "Hey, you want to go up?" And dude, I'm in my hometown. This is an arena show. There's 10,000 people there, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go up." And luckily, I just so happened, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a set list just in case. You never know. You never know what can happen. I was like, I doubt it, but it's possible because at the end of the day, it's just a comedy show. And dude, she asked me, man, she's like, you want to go up? I was like, yeah, I go up. I do 5. I have a good set. And after that happened, my hometown took me seriously as a comic. Because before I would go back and do mics and try to put on shows. He's really in the military. He doesn't really. But once Schumer put me on that stage and she like retweeted some stuff and she tweeted that I was funny and stuff, people took it seriously. And now the club back home was asking me to come back and do shows and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of got me into a position where I got to open for Colin Quinn, later on. So I was able to work with him. It's just, dude, it's been a weird road. I feel like I'm talking too much, man. I'm sorry.
No. That's what this is about. So, are you still in at that point? You're still.
Oh, dude, I'm in my military career. So it was a struggle. I can go into that as well. I thought you wanted me to. I can tell you how all that worked too, man. If you
and that's part of it. I think.
Oh, okay.
This is all great. I mean, it's definitely a long road to make it anywhere in stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
and so much of it comes down to just putting in the work and being seen, meeting people that can lead to other bigger things. Obviously, I mean, you've opened for Schumer, you've opened for Colin Quinn. That's incredible.
It's just I've been fortunate. I've just been lucky, man. From the start, man. And I'm not like a religious person, but it's just like, man, I've just been fortunate because I tell you, man, when I say Vince Morris blew my mind on Def Jam, he blew my mind. And then when my buddy Booyah was like, hey, man, I want you to meet my man Vince. And it had been years since I saw Vince, but he had a very signature look and he still had it. So when he turned around, I was like, oh my God, this is the guy. This is the guy that maybe kind of want to do comedy. And just being under his wing, man, and just learning from him, I learned a lot. I've just been so fortunate, man. It's kind of hard to believe sometimes. And not that I'm somewhere, but the things that I've been able to do just so far, and like you said, on active duty, is pretty wild, man. It's been a fun ride so far, and I feel like I still got a long way to go. But I've seen so many other people not even get to where I am, and I don't really think I'm very far. But I just been lucky, man. I just been fucking lucky.
Well, and so I think you're saying you've been in comedy for 13 years now, right?
Yeah.
Once they say once you get to 10, that's about the time that you you really find the voice of your comedy. And so you're also not a full-time comic, at that point.
And not at all.
So what was that like to, work on bass in an Intel shop during the day and then be in a club maybe that evening or over the weekend in somewhere else opening for a well-known comic? It
was fun, especially being so new. You kind of feel like this superhero, man. It was cool. You know what was really cool? Because I worked at NASIC, when I was at the Right Pat, and that's when I started to get the bulk of my club experience. It was funny because I would see people from my building at the shows, but in passing. But I didn't know everybody. I recognize that person, and then. Dude, I had it happen so many times where, like, I would see somebody in the crowd on a Thursday night at the Funny Bone show, and I'm opening for Brent Ernst and whatever, and then I would walk into work the next morning, and they would walk right by me and not even know that was me.
That's got to be weird, but is there a difference between, like, work Chris and stage Chris?
To a certain degree. Like, everybody in my office knew I did comedy. So like, dude, it got to the point where like my commander wanted me to do stand up at commanders calls. It was just like, yeah, dude, I was just like, I'm not doing that, man. I've had to do stand up at the holiday parties, all that kind of stuff, which is not fun at all. One time I brought a bunch of my buddies to do a show, and I was like, "Hey, man, this is a military thing. Don't go too hard. Just be careful. Don't be too offensive." And literally, it was the same day as Sandy Hook, dude. My buddy goes up and does a Sandy Hook shooting joke at a military function.
Yikes.
And that Monday, I am called into my lieutenant colonel's office, like, why did he do that? I'm like, dude, God damn it. Here my buddy is at home smoking weed on a Monday morning, and I'm sitting, standing at attention, getting yelled at by my lieutenant colonel for a joke that I had nothing to do with, that I forewarned them about. So it was like, just navigating that kind of stuff was not so fun, but it was fun, man. Like just doing this thing of during the day, just being some staff sergeant, and then at night going up and doing comedy shows, and then getting up on Friday morning and going to PT, like nothing happened. Walking to my, it was weird just being some airman walking around my building and go, "Hey, aren't you that comedian guy?" And then have everybody turn around and look like him. It's like, yeah, that was me. But I mean, I was just an MC at the time, just opening up, doing 10 minutes. But
I can also hear the people saying, "Hey, okay, tell me a joke."
Oh, dude, oh God, that's the worst. Even it got to the point, man, where like my commander would, like, when we would get a new commander, they would go, "Oh, this is Sergeant Jones. This is the comic." They go, "Oh, the funny guy." They go, "No, he's really a comedian. He actually does shows. He did this. He did that." So it was cool, but it could be a little annoying at times, to be honest.
So were you drawing on your military life for material?
To be honest, no, dude, that's funny. Not really, because I saw a lot of military comics come and go, and I would hear, like, my close friends who were comics, they knew after I told them, but I never really talked about it on stage because I heard how they would talk about military, quote unquote, military comics. Because you have those guys, all they do is just military material, and it really doesn't travel very well. But when you're in a town where they have a base, it does well, because you can always count on a large portion of the crowd to be either military or somewhat affiliated with the base, whether it's through, being admin or working at the hospital or whatever, they're tied to it, so they get it. So for years, I would say for the first like 5 or 6, 7 years, dude, I rarely ever even mentioned that I was in the military at all. People didn't know. Like sometimes I would be at lunch, like just around town, and I would just run into another comic at like the mall because we're eating at like Panda Express. They go, "You're in the military?" I go, "Yeah." They go, "We had no idea." It's like, you never noticed that I never took, the joint when it was passed around, or that,
Yeah. Well,
I always kept my hair cut. I never had a beard, I had nicer things than you. I know that's mean.
It's a good point. Good point, though. You got a steady paycheck.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I think would probably play into why one reason why you stayed in until retirement, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Because it afforded me the opportunity, because so many young comics don't, they're working like just a kind of a crappy job, because most people don't have a career that are into comedy. It's just younger guys who, they might be wait tables or a bartender or whatever, but not many comics have a career that they're willing to give up. Not very many, but there are some. Mm-hmm. But most people aren't willing to give up a career. So I was afforded the opportunity to take gigs that most comics in my position couldn't, because they didn't have the disposable income. Again, you understand, I was not rich, but compared to a lot of other people trying to do comedy, I had way more money. So it was easy for me to just like, hey, Vince would go, "Hey man, I'm out in Temecula next weekend. This is when I was in Vegas. You should come out to Temecula." So it's nothing for me to like rent a car. I mean, get a hotel and just drive out there, take some leave, and do some guest spots and take a bath on that. Because I'm spending $100 in gas. The hotel for 2 days is $300. So here I am, $400 in the hole just to do a couple guest spots. But it was an opportunity for me to meet the club manager, maybe get some dates in the future. And I would say 95% of young comics just don't have that luxury, just taking gigs where you're just losing money. Dude,
Right.
most comics for years, dude, we take a bath, man, a bath. Like doing these comedy festivals, even the smallest festival with no industry, no one is there. Dude, you're gonna eat $1,000 just to do maybe 3 or 4 or 5 minute sets. $1,000 is gonna cost you. If you got to fly there, you got to get an Airbnb or a hotel, maybe a rental car. If it's one of these festivals where you can't walk to every venue, yeah, dude, it costs a lot. And I would say for the most part, there's no big payoff, man, other than your networking.
I mean, now is an unheard of struggle, I'm sure, for a lot of comics out there, because those venues aren't open. So, and there's no festival, everything's virtual.
Yeah, man. It's weird.
So I know that I did see, and I heard that you had a show last weekend, at least. But,
yeah.
So are things starting to open up a little bit?
It did. Yeah. Overall, yes. And it really just depends on where you live. Here in Charlottesville, we're still trying to, the people that I work with, they're kind of slow on trying to do something outdoors. So, there's a bunch of guys in the DC area. They're doing shows all the time up there. So if I do any live shows, it's going to be in the DC, Northern Virginia, Maryland area. Mm. So that's starting to open up. Guys are doing a lot of shows in New York that are outside. Some people are doing some house shows or like doing stuff in garages and all that kind of stuff. But Bert was on the road. I think Liza Schlesinger is going on a drive-in tour.
Yeah, I saw an ad for that actually.
Yeah, so it's starting to pick back up. And I think it's good because before this, comics were very, very picky about venues. It can only be done. It has to have low ceilings. We got to turn the lights down a lot. We need that. Dude, I'm telling you, man, 10 months ago, there was no way in the hell you would ever get Mark Norman to do a fucking show in the park, No,
but he's made those work.
Yeah, but
well, Joe he's made them work with the videos at least.
Yeah,
maybe now not with getting laughs.
Right, but people are doing it, and I think that's good. We've lowered our standards. Sounds bad, but we've lowered our standards. What can make a great comedy show? Before it had to be perfect. Now it's just like, we can make this work.
And also, it's in a way, it's making comedy more accessible to people.
It is.
That wouldn't find it otherwise.
Right, exactly.
And so you have a slight advantage in a marketing sense to gain more traction and attention.
Right. It is. It's not a bad thing. Even with the Zoom shows for people who like you and your wife, it's like it's probably hard to get out, especially during COVID. Like say there was an outdoor show. It's like, are you really comfortable with having an outside babysitter come in right now? It's like, probably not. But it's like, if we put them to bed early, we can catch one of these Zoom shows,
Exactly.
It's just, more people can see you. So it's really not a bad thing, man.
Back to the military side of things, if we can go back a few more years, what were some challenges that you can recall from your career?
Well, what really, dude, I fell in love with comedy to where for years, man, my military career took a back seat. How long have you been doing stand-up right now?
I haven't done anything since COVID hit, but
That's
I'd
fine.
say just 2 years.
Okay. When I was at that point, I fell in love with it. And you know how it is, like when you get introduced to that lifestyle, and it's an unhealthy lifestyle, a lot of drinking, a lot of eating shitty kind of foods, and Vegas was such a unique case because nothing closed. So we would do our mics and we would stay out till like 5, 6 in the morning. Dude, there were times where I'm like 2 months into comedy. Dude, there were several times I would literally get home long enough to change into my uniform and drive to work. Like I would stay out all night long. No sleep. I would go to a mic at 8:00. We would do the show. We would hang out till 5, 6, and I would have to drive home, put a uniform on, and then boom, go to work for 8 hours.
Yeah.
On no sleep. And I would go, I'm not going out tonight, man. I got to get some sleep. I can't do it. This It's too much. Hey man, you coming to the mic tonight? I'll be there. And I would do it again. I would do it again.
It's addicting, and you feel like you have to be there for another thing,
Right.
And they're late nights.
Late nights.
They kind of work well in my situation, with the family, because they're all in bed, and I'm just like,
Right.
I'm gonna go out for this open mic, and I'm gonna hit this one afterwards, and then I'll be home around 2 a.m. on a Friday morning when I gotta go to work.
Dude, yeah.
I certainly understand that.
This is when my things got weird for me, or challenges for me, is when I was staying out late. I was overeating, man. And at that time, that's when the Air Force was really getting strict about the PT stuff. And I hit a long patch where like I was really overweight. I was failing PT tests. Like even towards the end of my career, I didn't get the test for master the last 3 years, dude. I was so out of shape. So there was like an 8-year period where I was like failing the PT, fail, pass. Just I would do well, okay, for a while. I might skim by and pass a second one in a row, but for the most part, it was like fail, pass, fail, pass. And dude, it was so stressful. And then here comes a kid. My wife is pregnant. I'm eating pizzas. I'm sympathy weight. Dude, I struggled so much with food, and that led to more drinking. And it really messed with my career, man. So you were talking about advice. If there are any other guys in the military who are thinking about doing comedy, make sure you keep all that shit under wraps, man, because it added so much stress to my life. Dude, I came so close to not even retiring. It's insane. But that last year, I quit drinking. I lost like 50 pounds. I passed the PT test. I was good to go. But dude, I got to a point where I was like, if they asked me to do it, I'm not doing it. Dude, this will be hard for you to believe. I put my PT test off for a year. I was just like, I'm not doing it. Dude, you talk about scared every day, worrying if, because where I was stationed at, we were away from the flagpole. So we didn't really have any upper leadership there. So whenever they wanted to talk to us, they would just Tamberg to us like, did Sergeant Jones take his PT test? There we go. Hey, did you take it yet? Nah. So at any day, I could have had a full board colonel or a first sergeant down there in my shit. So, dude, for the last 3 years, dude, it was terrifying, man. The level of stress, until I faced the fact that I was depressed, that I was overeating, that I was drinking too much, and I got therapy. I came this close to getting kicked out at my 18-year mark. I mean, close. I was Googling, like, you know how they say, like, oh, once you hit 18, it takes an act of Congress, to kick you out. Dude, I was looking at all that stuff, man. I was very, very scared, man. You talk about somebody who was terrified. I'm like, what did I do, man? I spent all this time in the military. What if I get kicked out? I was hoping to get a retirement. If I get kicked out now, I got a wife and a kid. Dude, it was stressful. It was stressful. It was scary, but it was all my own doing, man. It was all my own doing. It wasn't pretty. And that's what sucked about this whole thing too, is because I'm doing this cool stuff. I'm hanging out with Norman. I'm going to New York. I'm watching, I'm going to his taping. I'm meeting Michelle Wolf. I'm meeting Comedy Central people. He's telling me like, oh, they're an agent. This is my manager. This person runs this club. She books this. That's the person who does that. It's all exciting, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh man, this part of my life is cool, but the real part of my life, the part that pays the bills, it's in shambles. And like just hanging out with these guys and eating and going to these parties and drinking and stuff, that I would feel guilty. Dude, it was a lot, man. It was a lot. So I say all that to say, if you're a military dude, make sure you keep your career in order first, and it will make everything else a lot less stressful, man, because I definitely did it the wrong way. But that last year, I got my shit together and I was able to, I finished it out strong. But to be honest, man, I'm not proud of like the last 5 years of my career, man, because I got so caught up in comedy that I let all that shit just fall to the wayside. I should have retired at least a master sergeant, but all because I was in denial about a lot of shit. I screwed myself, man. So just keep that shit in order, man. Just keep it in order. Keep your military career in order.
Do you remember what that was that actually clicked and made you turn things around?
I'm a hypochondriac, and I'm absolutely terrified of dying. I mean, it's an irrational fear. And I went to the doctor, routine checkup, and he was like, "What's up with your liver numbers? You feel okay?" And I was just like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, man, your liver numbers don't look good at all." He's like, "You drinking a lot?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I do drink." It's like it's hard to lie to a doctor because it's like, dude, they see the numbers. This guy's been a doctor for 30. He knows what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And he was just like, "Look, man, you got to quit drinking. You got to quit eating all this stuff." He was just like, "Oh, this is all the stuff that can happen to you." And I was just like, dude, it was a rude awakening. It was terrifying. I was so scared, man. I was terrified of, having like psoriasis, and they was telling me all this other stuff that could happen. I was like, fuck this. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. It was like December 22nd. I remember I pulled up to my house. I was like, I'm not drinking anymore. I'm not eating this stuff anymore. And I went a year and a half. I didn't eat bread. I didn't eat rice. I didn't eat pork. I didn't eat beef. I didn't eat pasta. I just ate chicken, shrimp, vegetables, and like nuts. And every once in a while, I would make like a parfait as a dessert. And I did that for a year and a half. I started running. I started lifting weights. I was in therapy. And dude, it changed my life. It was a lot. But it basically, it took blood work for me to go, oh shit, I got to get my life together.
So it was a combination of health and
Yeah.
career.
Yeah. Yep.
And if that just continued down the same path, I mean, that's just an explosion waiting to happen, really.
Yeah,
So,
dude, it was tough.
so
Yeah,
good that you found help for that.
yeah, this is cool, man, because I never really get to go, like when I talk about this with other people on other podcasts, I really can't go into too much detail because they don't understand the military side of things at all. They don't like, people don't understand how much of your life they control.
Mm-hmm.
They're in charge of everything. Because when I quit drinking, all my comic friends were like, you don't have a drinking problem. I go, well, you just don't see me drink at shows a lot because I have to drive home. And I was like, I'm not like you guys. I was like, I can't have 5 beers and just drive home. And if I get a DUI, your job will never find out. I was like, if I get a DUI, they're going to take my rank and cut my paycheck, man. And they go, damn, they do that? I go, yeah. Not only is drinking and driving bad, but I was like, that's why I don't even have 1 beer and drive. I was like, it's not worth losing a stripe over. I was like, it's going to cost me hundreds of dollars a month, thousands of dollars a year if I get a DUI. And I was like, it's not worth it.
And you've got a family.
Yeah, people, but a lot of civilians, they don't understand that because if they get a DUI, it's not going to cost them part of their paycheck, I mean, other than fines, but your boss isn't going to call you in and go, hey, man, you're not making $27 an hour now. Now it's $20 an hour. I'm pretty sure if the civilian world was like that, you would see way less DUIs.
Oh, that's a good point.
Way
totally
less DUIs.
So do you see any parallels, any similarities between the military community and like the stand-up comedy?
Absolutely.
And I think about like things like diversity is one of them. There's a lot of camaraderie in community in the stand-up community as well. Right. I think. Yeah. So that's sort of the stuff that drew me into it.
Right.
So can you talk about some of those similarities that you've seen?
Yes, same thing, man. It's just like I know it's a heavy-handed metaphor if you want to call it that, but like when you do all these mics and stuff with people, it's like you're kind of going into battle with these guys. You see your friends bomb, you see your friends die up there. You know what I'm saying? And you get to know them and how hard they work, and it's tough to see, but it's nice when like you guys can get in a car, like 4 you guys, and you go on the road and you go and you do this show. Everybody does well. Everybody comes home feeling good. I feel like it's kind of the same way. And again, I'm not trying to disparage, or compare combat to comedy, but you know what I'm saying? It's like you guys say you just get deployed together, or you guys go to Korea together. It's just you're in a stressful situation with close people, and you kind of form this bond because not a lot of people do comedy. Not a lot of people have been in combat situations or been in the military or just been away from their family for a year, in Korea or wherever, as far as like, I mean, there's no real rank structure, but we all know in comedy, there's a rank structure. You know what I mean? It's just like, if I'm doing a show with Norman or somebody, like If it's just me and my buddies, it's like, oh, okay, I'm the vet comic right now. And as soon as Mark walks in, it's like, oh shit, the commander's here. Now it's his time to tell stories. It's just like you know when to shut up. As far as material goes, you all know if you're a young airman who is mouthy, even if you're right, it's just like that kid has a fucking attitude. He needs to get it together. But if a chief says the same thing, it's like, man, that chief is a straight shooter. Look at Chappelle. Look at his trans material. If some open micers did that same step, they'll go, this kid is alt-right. He hates trans. He shouldn't be able to say stuff like this. But when Chappelle does it, it's like, oh, this is brilliant. It's so insightful. It's the same thing. Like Chappelle, he has the stripes. He can get away with saying a lot of stuff. He's built that fan base. He's built the trust. He's built the credibility. But you as a young comic / airman, you got to know how to toe the line a little bit. It's just like if you're emceeing shows, stay away from certain topics, right away if you're opening the show. It's like, why do you want to open on that to kind of set the show up to be weird? No one's saying you can't, because I'm a free speech guy. Look at my shirt. But you got to know your place and know your role in the show. If you're an MC, you're not there to make waves. And some clubs will tell you you're not even there to do crowd work. And if it's a really old school club, they don't want you cursing. And they don't care if the feature in the headliner go up and say fuck every other word. It's just like, as an MC, you're not doing it. Just like the captain, he can show up a little bit later than everybody else if he wants to. You don't know what he's earned that. Now, is that good leadership? Probably not. But if he does show up late, you don't question him because it's the captain. You have no idea where the hell he was this morning. He could have had an officers meeting. But it's the same with comedy, man. It's just it definitely has this rank structure. People have their places. The camaraderie, dude. And I think that's what really drew me towards it. Like my comic friends and my military friends are some of the best people. So I have some of the best relationships with those two groups of people because we've been through this very unique and at times, traumatic experience together. And they're the only people who can really relate and know what you're talking about. So, dude, there's a lot of similarities to it. And, you got to be disciplined. There's a lot of structure as far as like writing the jokes and all that kind of stuff. A lot of rules as far as stealing and all that kind of stuff. Just like the UCMJ. Hey, if you want to be successful, you got to follow this code. Same with comedy. If you want to be successful, here's a code. These are some do's and some don'ts.
Yes, you get a lot of similarities.
Yeah, dude, there's quite a bit, and to be honest, where I retired at, there's not a big military community. So I'm like, once I retired, it's like I severed all ties. I don't have any affiliation with the military right now at all. I don't really have a lot of people I can, like buddies I can lean on around here because I just don't, I don't know that many people around here. And it can be tough.
So, all right. So where's a place you've been that you'd be happy to never see again?
Military wise or just anywhere?
Anywhere. I know you've probably been to some real holes in the wall. You were at Creech, right? Is that where you were in? Yeah, dude, I would not want to go like, because Creech is outside of Vegas, dude. I would never want to go back up there ever again, man. That town is it's weird, man. It looks like I don't know if you're a gamer, but it reminds me of like Nuketown. It just looks like a weird. It's a weird desert town and literally in the middle of nowhere. It's like a bunch of trailers, some really old homes. There's like one pizzeria. There's a gas station. Actually, they tore that down, but there was a gas station / casino. It was just very, very, very sad place. And if I'm being honest, it was very weird that. I'm a big mafia guy. I love the mob stuff. Sopranos, Goodfellas. Dude, there was the most Italian guy that lived out there that owned this pizzeria. I was like, how the fuck did this Brooklyn, New York guy end up in the middle of nowhere, Nevada? I was like, I'm willing to bet this guy is 100% in witness protection. And you were saying he had the Italian horn, the heavy accent, the hair, the pinky ring. I was like, this guy was definitely in the mob, ratted somebody out, and he runs a pizzeria in the middle of nowhere, Nevada. He's probably got a lot of bodies buried around there somewhere.
Yeah. So,
good pizza, though.
It was good. It was good, man. But I was like, man, this, and you know what's funny, dude? It's like that here in Central Virginia too, man. You go to like some of these really small towns in the middle of nowhere, and you'll see all these like pizzerias, and you go in, super New York guys. I'm like, why the fuck is this super New York, Brooklyn, Jersey guy out here in the middle of nowhere? And it's really not that far from DC either. So I guess like I bet you if these guys had to testify, it's only like a 2-hour drive. So I think there's quite a few witness protection people, like even in this area, man. It's like not too far from DC. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, dude, it's some it's some sketchy stuff out here. And I hate to stereotype Italian people like that, but with all the mob stuff I watch, and I just absolutely love it. It makes me think like, is this guy a rat? Did this guy rat somebody out?
What's your ultimate goal at this stage of your life?
My ultimate goal. Career-wise, I want to be a touring headliner. You know, eventually, I would love to have like a writing job. You know, just to work with other creative people, man, and make content that people like. And I want to have balance in my life. I want to live somewhere, you know, where my son is doing well, my wife is happy. I want to be in a position where I can do comedy as much as I want, but I can also be at home at night, most nights. That's my ultimate goal, man. You know, that's why I was really trying to talk my wife into moving to New York. I was like, hey, look, you know, if we move to Atlanta, I'm gonna have to do more weekends. I'll be gone a lot. But if we live in New York, I can just run around and, you know, do spots, and I can be home, because ultimately New York is where I need to be. And, you know, so that would be my ideal situation, is where I can do comedy as much as I want, be home almost every night, and have my wife happy with, you know, her living situation, her career, and my son in the place where he's getting a good education and he has friends and stuff. So
I guess you're more of a New York comic. You wouldn't go out to LA?
I mean, if my wife is like, I don't want to go to New York, I'll go to LA, I would definitely go. But I think I'm more of a New York guy than I am an LA guy. But I say that because I've been in New York, you know, so many times over the last couple of years. But you know, I've only done comedy once in LA, but I just like the subway and all that kind of stuff. I just wouldn't mind doing it for a couple of years, but obviously LA would be nicer, you know, but it's just a different tempo. I say this to people, and like I feel like all comics say, if comics were Marines, I feel like the New York comics are the guys that went to Paris Island. And then the LA comics are the guys who went to the other place, you know, and I think outside Chicago or something like that. But like, I just feel like New York City is like the place where you make the hard comics. Chappelle, Bill Burr, Quinn, you know, all those guys. Even Rogan started in New York. You know what I'm saying? Kreischer started in New York. So.
Yeah, I was up there a couple of years ago. We took a family trip up there. At the time, I only had 2 kids, and it was amazing. I took a night, and I walked from Times Square. We were staying there at the Marriott Marquee, and I walked to the West Village, and I got in to see one of the new material nights at the Fat Black Pussycat.
I got to do that, man. That was cool. Yeah.
That was such a good experience for me. That moment is really what made me take a step and start, you know, getting on stage and writing more, because I was like, these are people. Mateo Lane was there, Dan Lamort, a really good comic.
Isn't that a good feeling when you're new to see all those guys? It's inspiring, isn't it? Yeah,
Michelle Wolf went up. Nikki Glazer was there, and it was just very humbling.
Dude, I'm glad you said that, because that's what I tell people. And again, I hate what I do a lot of caveats, but I can't help it. I don't think I'm a great comic. I think I'm okay. But, you know, DC, I'm pretty well known in DC. I get to do all the clubs. People ask me to do their shows. You know, I don't have any issues getting stage time. You know, like even at the Improv, it's like, depending on who the headliner is, if I walked in, there's a good chance Antoine, the guy who's the manager, go, hey, man, you want to go up? You know, you want to go up? You want to go up? It's like, yeah, I'll do that. You know, I'm in that position. I work to the point where I'm, you know, afforded those opportunities. But, dude, in New York, it is the complete opposite. It's like you walk into the cellar. It's just like, you know, for a fact you are not getting on this show When you sit at the table with a bunch of comics, keep your mouth shut. But in DC, it's just like people asking me, oh, how was the weekend with Norman? I saw you hanging out with this guy. How was that? But in New York, it's like no one gives a fuck I'm a nobody. I'm a nobody anyway. But in New York City, they let you know you're nobody. You know, Quinn will be like, shut up. You haven't done anything. You know, it's just like, I love that, man. I love knowing that I'm a nobody. I love feeling like I got to prove myself. I got to get on. What can I do to prove myself? Like that new material night, dude. I watched, God damn, I'm drawing. What's it? Vecchione. I watched Mike Vecchione. I'm nervous as shit. Norman is like, dude, bring your A game. And dude, Vecchione doesn't give a shit. He does, but he's just like, all right, what about this one? You know, he's at the Fat Black, which is like, oh my God, I'm at the Fat Black. But for him, it's a workout room. And he's just running these premises. People are getting laughs. He go, okay, I got a laugh. I'll do that. What about this one? And he'll do it. Nothing. Okay, I'll try this one. Dude, and I'm up here sweating bullets and all, like you said, Vecchione is going up, trying new shit. It's nothing. But here I am. I'm fucking, you know, singing and dancing, trying to do my best. And I need that, because once you kind of like move up in certain places, you can get lazy. You know, you can get lazy once you kind of establish yourself in the area. But New York is a place where I feel like, all right, every show I do, I gotta bring it. But when I'm running around DC doing some spots, you can kind of go into autopilot, you know. It's just like, I don't really want to try anything new here. So you just do a quick 5 to 7 and you walk off. But in New York City, man, it's like looking at notes. I should do this one, you know, do that one. It really makes you focus. It makes you hone in, and it lights that fire, dude. And I love going there feeling like I'm nothing and I'm nobody. It pushes me, man. I love it.
You probably have a set that you can rely on, or a couple sets you can rely on when you're at home. Do you have to switch things up when you go up to New York?
If you want to be honest, you know, like you hear a lot, and to be fair, I don't have a ton of experience at like, I have never done the Cellar. There's so many clubs and shows I have not done in New York. And you hear guys like, oh, you got to be this, you got to be that. You just got to be funny, man. Comedy is comedy. You just got to be funny. What you have to do is get out of your head. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I could be wrong, but I don't think the Comedy Cellar is any harder than any other club. It's just the fact that if you're a comic, you go up on that stage, you go, holy shit. This is where Chappelle works out. This is where Che is. This is where Wolf is. This is where Leslie Jones and Louis. You get in your head and you end up bombing. It's just like, just show the room respect, but just remember, it's still just comedy. You just go up there and do your material. And I think you'll be fine for the most part. And if you just don't got it, you just don't got it. So
yeah, it could also just not be your night.
It could just not be your night. But but in those situations, you like, please don't let this be the night. It's not my night. Because Mark let me open for him one night at Gotham, and I was like, man, this is scary. But I go up, I'm like, man, this is no different than just being at the Dayton Funny Bone or the Toledo Funny Bone. This is the same thing. It's just people look a little different. That's it. You know what I'm saying? People dress a little nicer because it's Manhattan. You know, it's just. But I would say the one thing you do have to be aware of, because people are sensitive, like in the Midwest, you got to be careful with any religious material. You know, there's still clubs in the Midwest you can get away with being kind of homophobic, you know, slightly more racist. But in New York City and, you know, some of the more coastal areas, you can't really do that as much. But as far as religious material, you can call, you know, God whatever you want and nobody will really care. But you can't do that in the Midwest. You can't do that in Texas. You know, people in, you know, Nebraska will get kind of pissed off. You just kind of learn to tailor things to the crowd that you're in. But you also don't have to compromise your material or your ethics or your personal beliefs or anything like that, unless you want to for some reason.
So what's your biggest accomplishment?
I don't know how to explain it, man. It's I will say I don't not that I'm somewhere, but the stuff I've been exposed to comedy wise, I would say that's been my biggest accomplishment. Is actually like, you know, just knowing enough comics to where you can get industry insider information. You can hang out with people that are doing really, really cool things. And I think me being able to like go to New York and step my foot into those arenas and hang out with people that I really look up to. I mean, because, dude, it's really cool just like being able to hang out with Big J and Che and Gomez and, you know, Dan Soder and Quinn and Roy Wood Jr., Aaron Jackson, Chloe Hilliard, just like, you know, just all these people that you see, you know, they might go viral. They've been on TV shows. They write on. It's just cool to be able to step into that world for, you know, 3 or 4 days when I'm in New York, you know, to go to New York and go and have somebody go, oh, man, if things line up, we might be able to go to an SNL party. It's like, holy shit, an SNL party? That's cool. Even though it didn't work out, but the fact that for me, it was a possibility. It's mind blowing because I think about those days when I was going to Pounders, you know, those days when I'm hanging out with all my buddies in Dayton, and like we're watching YouTube and we're watching Tough Crowd, and you see Keith Robinson, a young Bill Burr, Colin Quinn, and then here I am 5 years later sitting down, and to my left is Colin Quinn, and Keith Robinson is right there. And, you know, it's crazy, man. You know, it's mind blowing. And like, whenever I'm in those positions, whenever I'm hanging around people like that, I'm like, I can't believe that I'm getting to hang out with some of the best comics, man. It's like, I remember being with my friends and like, oh, did you hear that new Bill Burr? Oh, what about this guy, Kyle Kinane? Dude, Jesselnick is cool. Hannibal Buress, have you heard of him? And just getting to meet these people, and it's really amazing, man. I've been very, very fortunate. I just been a few times. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time and had the right set to get welcome into certain circles. And I really appreciate it. And I miss it right now.
What's something you're really bad at that you want to improve?
What am I bad? I'm bad at letting my imagination get away with me. And I worry a lot. I have a lot of anxiety. And if I'm being honest, it's beginning to manifest in my son to a degree, and I wish I was better at handling that, because I see a lot of anxieties and insecurities in him coming out, and I sometimes blame myself for that. So that's something I definitely need to get better at is recognizing when my energy is off, and I have to be aware that he can sense that and it rubs off on him. And I have to do something about that. You know, it's been a while since I've been to therapy. I'm not working out as much as I was just because, you know, everything was shut down. But I was just saying that earlier when I was out at the store. I was like, man, not that I was ever a gym rat or in like great shape, but I felt a lot better when I was, you know, pushing the weights around and running more often. So I missed that, and that helped me control that, and that's been gone for the last 5 or 6 months, and I'm starting to feel like the old me again. You know, that constant worry and dread, and just that just I feel like I have just a ball of worry inside of my gut all the time, and I wish it was gone, and I got to get back to doing the things I was doing before that helped me mitigate and lower all those anxieties and worries. So that's something I wish I could be better at.
And to bring it to the opposite feeling, what was the last thing that made you laugh?
What did I just laugh at? If I'm being real, I love the Sopranos in memoriam page. So honestly, whenever I need a good laugh, man, I go to that Facebook page and I laugh at the memes that they make on there. Watching my son play video games makes me laugh. I watch a shit ton of YouTubers play Mario with my son, and some of those guys are pretty funny. So, you know, I find that to be funny. That kind of stuff makes me laugh. But man, what was the last time I had a belly laugh? What the fuck was I watching? I can't remember what I was watching. But
all right, and so you've got your own podcast.
Yeah.
That you've been doing for several years. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
And then,
here's something. I got to get better at promoting myself as well. That's something I got to get better at that I suck at, is promoting me and organizing shit.
That's half of life, I think, right now is
Yeah.
just self-promotion. No one's going to do it for us.
Yeah, and it feels weird to do, man. I don't know if the military did that because it's not about you. Like whenever you start doing too much of you, it's just like you're doing too much. And I gotta start worrying about myself just a little bit more. And especially if I want to do this as a career, I need to I guess I need to be a little bit more selfish and promote myself because I'm not a terrible comic. I got to get over that and just start putting myself out there more and just being a little bit more positive about that and not being afraid.
Yeah, well, you got the podcast, the Negro Please Radio podcast.
Yeah.
And you started a new show right on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, he got answers. It's an AMA show, and I had Norman on a couple of weeks ago. That was fun.
Saw that, yeah. And also, you got some material on YouTube. You've got
I put a couple sets out there. Yeah, a couple of short videos. I got some older, longer stuff where I got into a thing with a guy at a show up in Arlington. Him and I were going back and forth for 20 minutes, man. He just kept heckling. I tried to cut that down into clips, but there was no really I got him really, really good. It was just a 20-minute thing of me just boom, 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 boom. And it sucked at the time, but it was a cool experience. But he ruined I was trying to make a tape for something. He ruined it, but yeah, I ended up getting a decent video of him heckling me for 20 minutes. But
you do a lot of crowd work too, don't you?
I do it. I love crowd work, and I'm that's another reason I'm glad I met Norman too, man, because he's such a joke guy. He was like, man, he's like, you got good jokes, you got great jokes. He was like, man, do more of your material, because there were weekends where I'm doing 20, 25, and like 15 of it is just me just going through the crowd, just destroying people or they destroying me. It's just so much fun. I love to interact with the crowd, man. It's hard for me to just go up there and do my act. I like to talk to people and get to know, like, what are you doing here? And like, who are you? And what do you, I don't know. I just find that interesting. It's just hard for me to do my material just going up there. Cause there's part of me that's just like, why do people even want to listen to me? I would rather have people talk to me, and I get, you know what, now that I say that, I think that's what it is, because naturally that's how I feel like that's how I got my funny bone, is people telling me stuff and I would have a retort for it. So doing that on stage feels way more natural than somebody who was kind of shy, but very clever, and they were writing their jokes. Me, I grew up in the inner city, so it was a lot of shit talking, a lot of back and forth. And that's what I'm kind of used to, man. So I love doing crowd work, man. It's just fun. I just love it.
Let's wrap this up real quick. So we'll go back. We got the podcast, Negro Please Radio. You started a new show on your YouTube, Chris Allen. He got answers.
Right.
And then Twitter, Instagram, just at
Chris Allen Comedy, ALAN. Yep.
ALAN. And all right. Yeah, I really appreciate you taking 3 hours to talk to me here, taking a whole Sunday afternoon.
I'm sorry, man. This is my fault. You wanted to be an hour.
And I've said it before somewhere. Nobody makes an Air Force retired hat look as cool as you do.
I remember that comment. So that was you.
That was me. Yeah.
I get shit for wearing that hat from old people sometime, man.
Well, usually it's only no one under 65.
That's why people are like, you're retired. I'm like, yeah, man. It's people that our age don't typically wear that kind of stuff, man. But I like to let people know. It's just like it's about you people see me, they might make assumptions or they don't know what a guy like me would do. But it just I like to wear it because it's a symbol of like, hey, man, you never know what people have done in their lives. And I know I look fairly young. I'm 40, and no one would ever assume that someone that looks like me would be a retiree. Everyone, like you said, they think of the old guy at Walmart, with he's got the hat with his ship name on it and stuff, the Vietnam vet. It's like, no, dude, there's a lot of, middle-aged, younger veterans out there, and this is what we look like, you just don't know. So.
Yeah, well, you can see the hat for yourself at Instagram, at Chris Allen Comedy. Tons of great conversation here. Thanks again so much. And I've told Mark Norman, hey, come down to San Antonio when you're in Texas. I think you should come down too.
I would love
to see you sometime.
My cousin, he's retired there, so I would love to come down, man, and hang out.
Definitely.
He's supposed to open a restaurant, so that would be cool, man, to a retired Air Force vet, owned a restaurant down there. So yeah,
absolutely. Well, that's how we do it. That's the comeback. The first new episode of the Boots Off podcast is in the books. Follow at Chris Allen Comedy on Instagram and Twitter. You can find Chris Allen under his own name on YouTube. And he has some live shows coming up. September 24th at the Arlington Draft House in Arlington, Virginia. He'll be doing the Overachievers Comedy Show hosted by Martin Amini. And September 25th, 26th, again at the Arlington Draft House with Mark Normand. That's a big one right there. So thank you so much for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and share this podcast. Tip the waitstaff who put this all together over on Patreon. And we're back next week with a very different tone to discuss some things for Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Thanks.